Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake, and I'm here with Lindsey Deluce and Kelsey McEwen. Welcome to CTV Your Morning, the podcast.
Today, we're taking a look at how you can set realistic financial goals for the fall and why there are questions now about the future of Billy Bishop Airport in the heart of downtown Toronto.
And we're talking with Hanson, who are celebrating the 20th anniversary of their first indie record by releasing new music and launching a brand new North American tour.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, you can watch us live, CTV Your Morning, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV CTV News Channel and your CTV News app. So we're starting off by lacing up our skates. The Montreal Canadiens may be the NHL's most historically successful franchise, but a 30-year Stanley Cup drought has set them back to the drawing board.
The 24-time champions are the stars of a new series on Crave called The Rebuild Inside the Montreal Canadiens, and it takes us behind the scenes for the 2023-2024 season, getting up close with players, coaches, and of course, diehard fans.
Okay, so I think the most ultimate diehard fans is the narrator. Anne-Marie, you spoke with George Stroumboulopoulos about his love for the Habs and this project. Here's that interview.
Let's talk about something else you love. Music is one, but your love for the Habs goes back to long before you were ever on television. You once even, I love this photo, you jumped in a lake after they had a really big win. I'm sure you've done other things after they've had a really big win. Look at this.
That's at my friend's Jim's cottage when the Habs advanced to the final during the pandemic run. And so we were watching, and I was freaking out, and they were filming me. And then I went, oh, screw it, I'm going out. So I was so excited. You know, when you live and die by a team for most of your life, and they have this storied franchise history, but they've sucked for most of your life. Any small victory is a thing. And there's victory. Oh, what a beautiful dog, R.I.P. It just followed me into the water. Oh, and my Carey Price jersey,
You and a nation of Habs fans were probably feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Where did this love of the Habs come from? And talk to me about the bravery about being a Habs fan in this.
Yeah, I think, you know, the most punk rock thing you could have done in the 80s was be not a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs when you were a kid.
This was your rebel phase.
This is my rebel phase. But in my family, my Uncle Paul, who's amazing, was a Bruins fan.
Okay.
There's a man called Lon, who my mother's married to, was a Red Wings fan. My grandfather, who I'm named after, was a Leafs fan. So in a lot of times in my family, we didn't get together to cheer with each other. We would cheer against each other. It's still on the family WhatsApp group. We'll trash talk each other over the sports. So, and, you know, coming from Eastern European immigrant family, that's who I was raised by.
Yeah.
The Montreal Canadiens were an organization that had a real deep love for Eastern European hockey, and the Leafs were run by Harold Ballard, who did not like Eastern Europeans. So to me, the Leafs were just an organization that didn't like us. And the media was always really negative about European players, but the Habs were a classier organization. So it kind of ticked a lot of boxes for me to be a Habs fan.
I knew what a devoted fan you were, but I didn't know sort of the deeper origins of that. That's interesting to find out. Listen, there's a lot of excitement around this documentary. Just the inside look and the access alone. Sneak peek for us a little bit what fans can expect.
I think, you know, the Canadian hockey teams have been so careful about what they show. They have this outdated view of who they are and what they mean.
Yeah.
They still mean a lot to us, but it's a different relationship we have now with the way we consume on podcasts and on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we don't rely on the big broadcasters alone anymore. We have our own behind-the-scenes stuff. Players on social media. Players have their own podcasts now.
Yeah.
So what I love about this and what our fans are going to see is the dressing room, the conversations, the big moments, the conversations with the management inside the room when they're trying to make deals. We're seeing stuff we never had access to see before. So it was an easy yes for me to do it. And while I was watching the episodes and narrating it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that happened. So it's a nice
Even for
behind the scenes.
you, it was a revelation. Oh, I love that. Listen, we also know that Habs fans are ruthless. They will boo their own team. They will get up and leave if they don't like how they're playing. Why do you think that is an important part of this entire franchise?
To me, the relationship with your sports, look, the world's on fire, we know that.
Yeah.
So you need these little things to keep you going, right?
Yeah.
And sports is this really lovely way to kind of settle in and just forget about what's happening in the world from time to time.
Yeah.
But it costs a lot, and we invest a lot. So the expectation is you're not just in it to take our money. The expectation is you have to make this worth it for us.
Yes.
We know we're going to lose more than we win.
Eastern Europeans.
That's it, yeah. We know we're going to lose more than we're going to win. But if you don't try, and the Habs have been such an interesting organization because, yeah, they won in '93, it was a long time ago. They had that pandemic run, which was lovely, but we knew that if there wasn't a pandemic, Habs wouldn't have made the playoffs in a different system. So this team needed a rebuild, and we feel like when teams keep pushing the same old narrative, they're lying to us. This, what I love, is the Habs have finally decided, let's go. I love the management team. I love what Chantal Maccabee's done. I love what Jeff Molson's done. I love, Jeff and Kent, Marty, everything about this team we like now.
Yeah.
We actually like this team.
Okay.
It's the first time in a long time we like everything about the team, or most things about the team. So that's kind of fun. And Leaf fans, you see the absolute anxiety that happens every year.
It's an entire studio full of Leaf fans right now.
Right. So it's a deeply passionate relationship. And in Montreal, expectations are higher, which is it's not just a one-way street. It has to be a two-way street. And I think because we have European connections in a lot of ways, that's what they do to their football franchises, their soccer franchises. You have to step up. We'll always be passionate, but we're not just going to sit there and act like we're working on the same team.
So great to have you back here in the building and this conversation. A reminder, you can watch The Rebuild inside the Montreal Canadiens. It is streaming right now, only on Crave.
One of my favorite conversations this past week was when I got to sit down with Victor Garber. He was a genuinely lovely man.
He's so lovely. And he's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award from his hometown of London, Ontario. And there is a lot to honor. I mean, we've seen him in so many movies like Titanic, Legally Blonde. We've seen him on stage in Godspell, Damn Yankees, and Hello, Dolly.
And he has been nominated for so many awards. But he tells Kelsey that this one is very special. Here's that conversation now.
I'm excited about being back in Canada, and London, Ontario is where I was born, and the Forest City Film Festival, Dorothy Downs has done this extraordinary thing, and they're going into their 9th season. And I've been trying to get here all this time, and then COVID and everything, and now I'm here. And I took so long. I'm getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for just getting here.
Just getting here.
Yes,
I mean,
but it's really an incredible cultural center in London, Ontario, which when I was growing up, it didn't feel quite like that, But the Grand Theatre is where I started my career, and I have just nothing but nostalgia and love for that theater, and excited about this film festival. It's really a remarkable thing she's done.
It really is. Take me back to those early days. You started in London, then you came to Toronto. In 1972, you were in the Toronto production of Godspell.
Yes.
But you were alongside some names we know today, like Martin Short and
Quite
Eugene Levy.
Names, yeah.
What were those days like when your career was just starting to gain all of the attention that led you to today?
It's often when you're in the middle of something, you don't realize. I knew when I was in the room with the Godspell cast, I thought, I'm surrounded by people that are so much more talented than I am, and who are just brilliant. And I remember that feeling, and so it's not a surprise to me that it achieved what it achieved. But now it's being documented. They're doing a documentary on it, and unfortunately, we won't have everybody because a lot of people are gone. And I miss Gilda terribly, because she would have loved this. Godspell was her life. Yeah, but Marty and Eugene and Andrew Martin and Jane Eastwood, we're all connected still.
You are. You are receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award, as you mentioned, for the Forest City Film Festival. This is in your hometown of London. What's really cool is it's also the same city that your mom had her own show on CFPL TV, At Home with Hope Garber.
Very, very good.
Very good.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be honored in the place that you grew up, that formed you?
It's overwhelming, and so for a while I was kind of trying to deflect it, and then finally, I realized that just take it in, just accept this. It's because I'm so uncomfortable with being, I love what I do, but I don't like all the attention so much. But I am really honored. I am really honored to have this happen, and I can't thank Dorothy enough for making it happen, and my family will be there. All my family and I have family living in London, so it's unimaginable, and I'm just incredibly grateful.
You've had such an incredible career, worked with some beautiful names, like you've mentioned already, but also with Jennifer Garner, who is a dear friend of yours. She never shies away from really singing your praises.
It's like the daughter I've never had, but she is a remarkable person and has taken great care of me in my life, and I'm so grateful to her.
All right, let's talk about when a new opportunity turns out to be too good to be true.
In Canada, there have been documented cases of people being scammed out of money when applying for a job. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre says job scams cost Canadians close to $30 million in losses last year.
Anne-Marie, you talked about this with Angela Champ. She's a career expert who explained how to avoid falling for them. Here's that conversation.
I think when people hear about job scams, they don't realize they can also lose money, among other things. There's 3 types that people will encounter. What are they?
So one is a legitimate company will post a job on LinkedIn, Indeed, that sort of thing, but they have no intention of hiring. They're doing it either to see who's in the marketplace, how easy would it be to replace a key role, to see what their job pool is, but also to get intel on other companies, on what jobs they have, on what they're offering. So they're legitimate companies, but the job's not legitimate.
It's kind of like corporate spying, which I understand. This is very common. I didn't realize that this is so commonplace.
It's too common, unfortunately.
What other kinds are there?
A second type is also a legitimate company, but it's an evergreen job. They post it on there, but they never look at the resumes until they're ready to post. So typically they tend to be frontline roles or ones where they have a lot of turnover. Okay. Again, if you're somebody who's looking to apply for a job, you might apply. They might have thousands of applications. They'll never look at it. The third one is maybe the most insidious, which is actual job scams, which is a fake company putting out a fake job ad to fool you into applying so that they can get something out of you, usually money.
So let's take a look at that last one. We'll do a deeper dive. What do people need to look out for so that they don't fall for a fake job ad specifically?
So first of all, look to see, is the job too good to be true? Sometimes what happens is they will post in a place where they know they're going to get that target audience. So they might post part-time evening work in a mom's group where they know that that's what kind of jobs that they might be looking for. Another thing is...
Angela, can I get you to... So this is an actual ad that we pulled up. So what would tell you that this is a scam?
In this one, what would tell you it's a scam is that there's so few details. It wants you to contact them. It's only posted on Facebook, so it's not posted in any other legitimate group. But when you reach out to them, one of the things that made this is an actual job ad that came up, is when you posted them, they wanted you to download Telegram, which is not typically used in North America. And they wanted you to go out and buy some gift cards as part of their interview process.
Buy gift cards as part of your interview process.
Yes, it was a very odd process.
Oh, wow. Okay, are there certain jobs or industries where scams seem to be more common than others? Maybe that's another red flag.
It happens in almost every industry, but you'll typically see this a lot more in frontline work. So where people tend to be paid just slightly more than minimum wage, where there might be a bigger pool, maybe a bit more unemployment. Unfortunately, though, it happens everywhere.
So how far can a job scam go? Is it possible to reach the interview stage? And if so, what happens then?
Not just the interview stage. Sometimes they'll say they've hired you, and this is where the financial impact comes in. Because what they might say is, you might be working from home. They'll say it's a remote work. So we want you, we're going to send you some money. We're going to put it in your bank account. We want you to take some money and go buy gift cards and send it into a client. This is a very common scam where they'll ask you to buy gift cards or go buy something and send it to people. That is the most common type of fake scam.
Listen, we like to help people out here. I want to bring up one more example, and if you could walk us through what would flag this to you as a scam. I think it's another posting, is that right?
So this is a real one that came in. First of all, it says that they received a resume application via the University Recruiting Department. The University Recruitment Department would not give out somebody's resume. It's against privacy legislation. They wouldn't do this. There's no information. You can see that there's spelling errors, that the grammar is not properly. This is sent out to university faculty and alumni. So that alone should give you some red flags that it's not even posted as a real job. But if it sounds too good to be true, what you could do is if they've included the name of a company, you can look it up, research it, put in the name of the company in a search engine plus fraud or plus scam. And sometimes it'll come up and it'll tell you that people have fallen for this type of scam with that particular name of company.
Oh, I really like that because you can put in the name of the company, but if they've gone the extra step to make a website, you could be further fooled. I like adding the word scam at the end of it.
That's right.
That's great.
Plus scam, plus fraud.
Okay, well, let's say we haven't done all of these steps. You do end up scammed. What should people do?
So first of all, if you have given over your personal information, driver's license, passport photo, date of birth, you really want to protect yourself against identity fraud. So make sure you're registering yourself with something like an Equifax or somewhere to protect your identity and your credit rating. If you've been involved where you bought some gift cards or you've given over some money, report it to the police so that they can investigate. They do investigate this sort of thing. And do what you need to do to protect your identity. Change your passport, change your passwords on your online accounts, and anything you need to do to protect your identity.
This is a fascinating conversation with a lot of great tips and help. Angela, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Now we'll head into the classroom where good teachers are a powerful, life-lasting, positive influence on a child's life.
But sometimes what can happen in school may not be a good fit for your child, and that is a tricky situation to navigate.
Kelsey spoke with education strategist Dwayne Matthews for some tips on how to supplement learning at home. Here's that interview now.
I do want to say, first and foremost, this isn't about confronting a teacher by any means. This is about controlling what you can and focusing on your child and what you can do at home to really enhance and enrich the experience of education.
Exactly. Control the controllables.
Yeah, okay, so let's go into ways to do this. One way to navigate this is by fostering curiosity at home. How can we do this?
So one of the most important things that a child is going to have to learn when they're older is to capture, organize, and take action. So you want to capture their curiosity. So a great way to do this is to put lots of big sheets of paper all over the walls in the house. And some people say, Dwayne, what about the decor? The king's not coming. You put the pieces of paper and you write the questions down. So my daughter's 7. We just write questions down. Sometimes we have it on a small chart. Sometimes we have it, but we capture all the questions and then we can start to organize those questions after. And some of the ways that we do that, we might have an AI app on our phone where we start to ask the AI app the questions and we're having this conversation back and forth, but really help students to become curious and to capture their curiosity.
I love that, and I love the idea the king is not coming to visit. Do what you need to do.
I've tried.
Yeah, I mean, that invite's just getting unanswered. You also recommending using gamification for learning, and I think this is so on point because kids love games, they love to play, and if we can kind of trick them into learning while they're doing it, why not?
Well, one of the things about gamification that's really interesting is it really is about the zone of proximal development. And that's really a space where something is just a little hard, but not too hard. And games have a really good way of doing that. We use an AI-based tutor that uses something called spaced repetition, where you repeat things, but it's spaced out based on the difficulty, and it keeps the child right in that space. So you're always actually having some kind of success, but some kind of effort and tension. And we find that children will actually follow along really well. So that's a great way to keep the learning going. We do that for math.
Inevitably, on the playground or at school pickup time, you start chatting with the other parents. And what do you do if you chat with other parents and they're also experiencing concerns? You can kind of use that to your advantage to chat with other families.
And I think this is a great idea. One of the big things is really reestablishing community. You know, we went through the pandemic and that sort of broke the community. And I think to reestablish the community, and we create little learning pods. And so we did this with my son when he was younger. And what we did is we got one tutor that would get 2 or 3 kids together. We would have some playtime at the beginning, some tutoring in the middle, and some playtime after. This allowed us to spread out the resources, but really kind of keep the community together to make sure that all the parents are on the same page and all the students are on the same page.
So much learning happenings for kids when they are able to just do it themselves, self-directed learning. So how do we do this at home?
So a big thing is allowing students to start getting into projects. My younger daughter was really into gardening, so she brought home seeds and she was working on the projects of gardening. I do lots of keynotes. And so my son, he video edits using an AI tutor to video edit for me. And it's actually a job. I pay him to do that. But these projects really help them to get accustomed to taking some initiative and having agency.
And lastly, as a parent, so much of the time we just want to say, just listen to me and don't talk back. But debating is a great way to create critical thinking.
So this probably is one of the most difficult ones, but teaching your child to actually beat you in an argument using logic. So one of the tools that I use are mental models for my children is inversion, thinking of all the different ways that something goes wrong, and then using that to base their argument and moving it forward, thinking about how you make it go right.
Dwayne, I love how you challenge us to think differently and think outside of the box, and you make us better for it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
We are glad you're enjoying Your Morning, the podcast. Every week, we bring you some of the most interesting conversations from our show on a wide variety of topics. Of course, we'd love for you to join us live weekdays, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV, CTV News Channel, or on your CTV News app.
Now we want to turn to a health story that has affected so many people we know. Every day, listen to this stat, every day, 9 people in Canada are diagnosed with brain cancer.
So you may know Catherine Reeford from when she and her best friend won Season 8 of Amazing Race Canada. She was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2013, and doctors told Catherine she had then just 2 to 6 years left. It's been 11 years, and Catherine is still fighting.
Lindsey, you spoke with her about her advocacy work and helping others just like her.
How are you doing? How are you feeling these days?
Well, I'm pretty good, considering. I have an MRI every 3 months, and I make my oncologist do jazz hands with me when I get a stable result. And this time on last Friday, it wasn't stable. So that was kind of a big shock to me. But it was kind of a wake-up call to me as well. I look, well, I hope I look great, but,
you look great.
It's something that, you don't expect people to have, or to have to conquer or to have to battle or whatever. But I'm here to show people that I'm flying to Toronto tomorrow to go to Vaughan and MC the Brain Cancer Canada Gala. So I'm actually really proud of that, and got some great things to say, and we've got some great things to do, and we're going to raise a ton of money. And so that's what we want to do.
Absolutely. More money means more research. And that is the goal here, right?
Yeah, that's right. And what you said, 9 people every day are diagnosed with brain cancer. And that needs to stop. That has to stop. We need more research. We need more hope. We need more love and care and money. We just need more money, really. But we need to be a community.
I want to ask you about that in terms of more care. I mean, you've been through brain surgery, 4 types of chemo and radiation. You've talked about feeling lost, having to figure all of that out on your own. What do you think needs to be improved to make that patient experience a bit easier to navigate for people?
More communication, really more communication, more people being there for you. Because when you're told you have cancer, and it's not just cancer, it's brain cancer. When you're told you have brain cancer, your brain kind of shuts off. And I know that happens for most people that get told they have cancer, but you actually have things in your brain that are messing up your brain. So it's really important to have a community there so that you can work through it and ask questions and have people surround you with love and support.
People often talk about it, brain cancer, like a death sentence, but you say that is not true. How can we start to change that conversation around what it means to live with brain cancer?
Right. I'm still living with brain cancer. So I take each day as a day at a time. And there's my kiddos. Oh, your
kids are so big. They're so cute.
I know, they're really big. So one's 14, the other one's 11. I am living with it. And even though I was there was something that happened on Friday, we're really not sure what it is. It might be a regrowth. So we're just making sure that we check it in the next 2.5 months. We're going to do another MRI to check it. But I'm living, and I was on set all night last night. So
wow.
I haven't gone to sleep yet, but I will after I get my kids to school. I will go to sleep. So I'm living with this, and I'm taking every day one at a time. And I think that's what you have to do when you have a disease like this. You just have to take it one day at a time and enjoy the little things. Like, I can't wait to go snuggle my kids awake. It's really special.
Yeah, and just looking at the picture of you with your children, getting that recent scan result, and having those conversations. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that is.
Yeah, it was a tough day on Friday. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. We had a lot of tears, and then we went for sushi. I took them for sushi on Saturday.
Well, and I know you mentioned this off the top, but you're going to be emceeing Thursday, right, at the 2024 Gala?
Yes, I am. I'm flying out there tomorrow.
Fantastic. Yeah, what can you tell us about the event?
Oh, it's okay. So Tragically Hip has donated a signed poster that all the Tragically Hip have signed, and that's going to be auctioned off at the live auction. And Willow Downey has donated a painting that she's done, and that'll be part of the live auction. And so many people have donated and volunteered, and this whole community, Brain Cancer Canada is all volunteer based. So all of the money raised goes directly to research. So that's so important to me, that I just started being an ambassador with them this year. And I know for certain that the people that are running this are so passionate about it. And they've been dealing with losses and grief and joy and hopefulness through all of this. So I want that to be, I want everybody to get joy and hope from this. We need to find a cure. We have to do it now.
And you're going to be a big part of that. And I understand the event is sold out. Catherine Reeford, we wish you all the best, sending you so much love. Say hi to Craig for us, too.
I will. He says hi.
Thank you.
He's in Italy.
Oh, he is. Oh, pardon me.
Yeah.
Have a great event. All right, Catherine, thank you.
Did you know it's been 40 years since Blue Rodeo became a band right here in Toronto?
Now Jim Cuddy has been finally inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. It's no wonder. He has, 15 Juno Awards and the Order of Canada.
Anne-Marie, you spoke with Jim Cuddy and Nick Fadour, the executive director of the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. Here's that interview.
You have a long list of accolades, as we just spent about a minute talking about, which is really fun to do, and is it fun to hear, I hope. How are you going to celebrate this one?
You know, I think that this one is a little different for both Greg and myself because it just goes back to the very beginning of our musical partnership where we just would write songs and play them for each other, and we had no hopes of having a band or doing this for a living. So there's a lot, it just spurs up a whole lot of memories of how our whole trajectory to get here. And it's pretty much the first time we've ever actually congratulated each other.
Oh,
Generally we try to keep it, old style hockey, just don't celebrate your goals. And
No Sally.
So this time it's different.
The last time you and I were together outside of a studio, we were in a recording studio. You had one of your kids was there, and we were experiencing. You and I sat at a piano together, and I got to experience that core of Blue Rodeo, which is musicians playing good music and working together off one another. Would you say that's still the core that still lives?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we're definitely part of the tradition of musicians that whose greatest high outside of writing songs is being with each other and feeling the energy that is created when musicians just play together. And both my sons have followed that. Sam Pauly and Devin Cuddy both have bands that with really good players, and it's that never gets old.
I loved watching you watch your sons, by the way, because you not only had the lens of dad, but you also had the lens of musician, and that was interesting to watch because they are independent musicians in and of themselves. Yeah. I wanted to bring you into this conversation, Nick, because we want to find out who else is going to be inducted this weekend.
Well, Jim, Greg Keeler, we know celebrating a partnership that spans almost 4 decades. We were talking about that backstage. It's incredible. As well as Tom Cochran, D'Antel, Sarah McLachlan. I mean...
Oh, my God. That's like my junior high school dance right there.
I know.
So many slow dances.
Having one of these inductees in a room is incredible, let alone having all 5 of them under an iconic roof at Massey Hall.
Is there any tickets left? I'm not kidding.
I think there's a few tickets left, so head over to Ticketmaster. And,
I had all of those cassettes in my car. Jim, I want to ask you, it's one thing to be a performer and a musician, but to be a songwriter is a very special honor to bestow on someone. Not everybody has that gift. I've said before, it's like magic to me that people can create a song that touches people and it hits in their memories and lives in their memories like slow dances. Do you remember your first song? And if you do, was it any good?
Oh, I certainly, there was a song, I think I wrote a song when I was a young teenager called Simple Man. And it was kind of a forlorn thing about being alone in the country. And I always had the inclination. It never occurred to me to not try to write songs. So I always had, I would just sit with a guitar and I'd start learning other people's songs, and then I just would drift off and write a song that was in the same style as what I was learning. When people say to me, oh, I have so much difficulty writing songs, I'm glad to hear that. I don't want everybody to be able to write songs. And but I think for Greg and myself, we've always wanted to do it, and we've always worked at it. I don't think we ever thought we were good at it when we started. I mean, it's completely foreign territory to us, but we always were compelled to try to do it.
Well, it is my honor to say congratulations in person on this honor to you. Best of luck. Have a good party this weekend, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, fall isn't just for pumpkin spice and cozy sweaters. It's also a great time to reevaluate your financial goals.
Woohoo! Okay, so a recent survey found 44% of Canadians say money is their top stressor, even more than health or work.
So, Lindsey, you spoke with a certified financial planner, Martha Adams, to help turn that stress into confidence. And she did that with some simple steps. Here's that interview now.
Money is stressing people out, Martha. It is stressing people out. So what can we do to feel more in control?
So the first thing to do is focus on your financial wellness. So with that, prioritize your emotional well-being, normalize that. You know, far too often, I would say that our emotions around money are suppressed, and it's key that we allow ourselves the space to express those emotions. So to do that, I created my 3A process to help.
Okay.
So it is starting with acknowledgement, then building awareness, and then action. So the first thing to do is acknowledge the feeling, acknowledge the way that you feel, then build an awareness as to where those feelings are coming from at the source. So to do that, ask yourself why you feel that way 3 separate times. Then you can start to take actions that are going to help. But you're going to do that with understanding and empathy for yourself. So those are the 3 A's that can help.
What about mindset? What sort of role does mindset play in all this?
It plays a really key role because, you know, we're often focused on what we don't want when it comes to finances. Instead, focus on what you do want. So often finances are focused on what not to do, and instead focusing on what to do helps. What not to do is often negative and depreciating.
What do you mean by that? Like, for example, what do you mean?
So I don't want to be in debt,
okay,
right? I don't want to run out of money at the end of the month. All of these kind of negative thoughts and approaches are ultimately depreciating and hold us back, right? When we're focusing on what we don't want. So instead, focus on what you do want. I want to be financially in control. I want to have a thing of the past in my life, right?
So just flip it around and start to tell yourself that.
Yeah, and that difference in the mindset creates a very different result.
I believe that. So what action can we take? What positive action can we take to change things?
So here are a few things to do to help. So one thing is to look at all of your monthly expenses. You know, those are often things that can quickly creep up and add up. An example of that is monthly subscriptions, right? Review those and make sure that you're still benefiting and enjoying them, right? And if
I've got a couple rogue ones that just popped up. I was like, wait, I'm paying what for what kid game that's supposed to be educational?
Right, yes. Exactly. And then reviewing them, now you know if you're still enjoying them or not. And otherwise, you're going to streamline those. And when you're streamlining that, consider reallocating those funds either to growing your investments or to decreasing outstanding borrowing accounts that you have.
Right.
And then while you're at it, review your credit cards. Make sure that they're actually working for you and your lifestyle. Are you benefiting from them? And are you using points or maximizing points that come along with them? And then finally, believe it or not, the holidays are around the corner, right?
I just said 84 days till Christmas.
I know, can you believe it?
No.
And so, but you know, we were talking before about planning and how planning is such a powerful tool. So this is a really great time to start to plan in advance for the holidays because you can set your, you know, financial commitments and expectations, and doing that in advance is going to set you up for success all the way into the new year.
Really quickly, one big stress for people, mortgages, a lot of those coming up right now. What advice do you have for people?
I would say definitely look at rates versus term and length of the mortgage. Really look at that fine print and make sure it's working best for you. And if you're in a variable rate mortgage, consider looking at your ability to convert that into fixed over time. These are all things that are great to speak with a qualified mortgage professional about.
We're ending today with a look at the future of Billy Bishop Airport in the heart of downtown Toronto.
So the airport says a longer lease is necessary to meet a 2027 deadline from Ottawa to expand its runway. But some Torontonians and city staff want the Toronto Island Airport shut down altogether, saying the space could be better used.
Anne-Marie, you spoke with John Graddick, a lecturer at McGill University School of Aviation Management, about this very issue. Take a listen.
So Billy Bishop is ranked as Canada's 9th busiest airport, has millions of passengers flying in and out of it every year. Why then did city staff recommend against extending the lease?
Well, I think that the issue on this one is really a question of, how do you finance the work that has to be done to do this runway extension? And right now the bill sits between $60 and $65 million, and the owner of the airport, Ports Toronto, really wants to go to the market to basically get financing to do this extension. And when you talk about financing anything, the lender is going to look at, what's the return on investment? How long is this investment going to last? And the problem with the lease is that it's over in 2033. And that's not long enough for any type of lender to be able to, in fact, put in $60 or $65 million for a property that may not be yours in 8 to 10 years.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Last month, Toronto held a public meeting on the expansion project where some Torontonians questioned whether or not the airport should even exist there at all. I will say, as somebody who's traveled out of both Pearson and the Toronto Island Airport, the Island Airport is preferable. It's less busy, it's less crowded, it feels more efficient. But what are the concerns of citizens who say we don't need the airport downtown?
Yeah, well, I think we've been through this debate on several occasions over the years. And every time we talk about changing the design of the airport or investing money in the airport, we reopen that debate once again. I think that, it is not going to go away. People are going to want to basically convert that airport into a park or into recreational space. And commercially and economically, that airport is much too valuable to the City of Toronto, to the Ontario government, for it to be anything but the airport as it is today. There's a lot of investment that's been made in that airport. There's thousands of jobs that are basically very dependent on the use of the airport. So yes, we'll have that debate one more time. But I think Ms. Chow and the Ontario government and the federal government, really understand where the value of the airport is. There's only one issue outstanding, as Mr. Poilievre has said publicly, that he would allow for an extension of the airport and to allow jets into the airport. That debate has yet to take place with Mr. Poilievre and the population of the City of Toronto. So that's something that's out there that we're not sure what the end result of that conversation will look like.
Thanks for being with us today.
For more great conversations, download or hit subscribe to Your Morning the Podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget, watch us live weekday mornings on CTV CTV News Channel or your CTV News app. Start your morning with us.